Welcome to Storyteller, a profile series highlighting the dreams, journeys, and achievements of our students, alumni, and supporters, presented by Doyon Foundation.
Effie Kokrine Charter School, trail kids, kechit na yukobat korechiat, dikakinjik kwe kukwa it I genjik kubahatkat, nasasa teguin that chiti kukwa kwe that I datak kubahatkat. Good to see you, everyone, and we're here today with Effie Kokrine Charter School, and some of the students here in Michael's class are studying several languages within the Doyon Languages Online platform, as well as Rosetta Stone. And we're just going to share some short conversation about the class, about what they're learning, and just like to welcome everyone. Masitro. Maybe quickly you could introduce yourselves. Last week you shared a little bit about Shoji, Alan, or say your name, maybe what grade you're in.
Shoji Matthew, I'm in 10th grade.
My name is Nishon, and I'm in 9th freshman.
Shoji Holly, and I'm in 10th grade.
Uvanga Atiga Sam, and I'm in 9th grade.
Koyo and I'm in 9th grade.
Lindsay, so you all have been taking the class here this spring semester. Some of you are also in the last semester's class as well. And you've been using the Doyon Languages Online. And there's currently 5 languages in there. So the class, you're able to choose one of the languages. Which languages are you studying in class?
I'm studying in Nubiak.
Nubiak through the Rosetta Stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, given permission from the North Slope Borough.
Yes.
That has a license.
Yeah.
Very good. Are you studying one of the languages?
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
I'm studying
Danaka?
Central.
Lindsay.
I'm studying Dinji Jokya Cochin.
I'm also studying Central Danaka on the Doyon Language Online program.
Great.
I'm studying Korean.
So it's really awesome. What was the thing that made you want to learn, I guess, choose one of these languages to study?
My family's from Kotzebue, and I just wanted to be able to converse with my Appa easier and also pass this language on to my little siblings, Tommy and Kavik, hopefully.
Nice.
I've always really liked learning languages, and I always wanted to learn language of the place I live in. But even though I'm not native myself, I thought I should at least learn the language of the place I live in.
That's beautiful.
My family is from Huslia, and so, well, it originally started with me just kind of wanting to learn a language, and I didn't know what to do. And so at first I started with the Duolingo app, and I was like, well, what language do I want to learn? And I was like, I've always wanted to learn my native language. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll ask my grandma if she can teach me. And then she doesn't know that much herself, so I was like, well, that's kind of unfortunate. And then I found out this class was available, so yeah.
So,
I wanted to learn this language so I could talk to my family and just learn it because it's part of my culture, so it's I should know it.
Lindsay, Masit.
My family is from Rampart, Tana. So I wanted to learn this language because it makes me sad that the language is dying and not a lot of people know it anymore. When I was younger, I wasn't really interested in it, but now that I'm older and understand more, I decided to try and learn it and hopefully teach others.
That's great. Thank you. What are the things you found challenging as you've been going through these courses together?
At least for me, mostly it was figuring out the different dialects, and especially like what dialect my village is in, and finding a steady language resource that keeps that dialect.
It could be challenging to find somebody or some resource within the languages. A lot of these languages don't have textbooks or other resources to be able to learn them, or classrooms or teachers.
What I found challenging was like memorization with such long words and some of them real difficult to pronounce. It made memorization a little challenging sometimes, but also with other resources other than the Doyon website, it's difficult to find more than just like one Quechin dictionary out there. So that was the challenges I came across.
Some of the challenges for me was pronunciation, because I know it's, like, before I'd never like even kind of I've heard the language before from like my like great grandmas and grandpas, and just like when I go down to Huslia, but I never actually tried to like speak it or anything before, and so this is kind of, I knew some words before, but not like the more challenging ones to pronounce. And so I was having a hard time, or I guess I still am having a hard time with that. And then, because like there's nobody that I can really talk to about it. There's like people in this class and stuff. But then like when I go home, because my grandma doesn't know it or anything. But yeah.
Are there any other people that you can ask questions? Or no. Well, maybe we can find some people to connect with. So,
yeah.
The things that I have found that has been challenging is pronouncing words right also, and memorization.
I heard that you have to hear and repeat a word like 300 times in order to finally it starts to get sink into your memory or what have you. But yeah, you do have to have a lot of repetition when you're learning a language.
Some things I had trouble with is pronunciation, memorization, and not being able to talk to a person that can teach me.
So what is it, do you think, is it important to learn these languages or speak them, pass them on? Could you share a little bit about that? Like, why do you think it's important?
I think it's important to keep learning these languages because it keeps our culture alive, and by learning these language, in a sense, you're fighting it back against the colonization of the past and also the colonization that continues today.
Thank you.
I think it's really important to keep these languages alive with so many dying out very quickly. When the native languages have so much culture intertwined with the language itself, when you lose a language, you lose such a vast amount of culture. So I think it's really important to keep the languages alive and keep teaching it to the youth.
I strongly agree with what Sam and Matthew have to say about it. Because I know it's like in my family, like only my great grandma really knew the language, like enough to really kind of pass it down. But she wasn't able to, unfortunately, because she passed a couple of years ago. But and so what she did know, she kind of taught her kids a little, like my grandma, but not that much of it. And so I find it very important that I pick it up and pass it down, because it's almost nobody in my family kind of knows a lot about it or anything.
Thank you.
The language is important because we're losing speakers to keep the language going. It is part of my culture and I want to keep it around, and it's just like in danger, and it's like you need the speakers.
Yeah, I heard that, like for instance, Samoan It's a South Pacific language. There's 300,000 speakers. It's almost the size of Anchorage. But it is an endangered language because children of that area aren't learning the language as much as their parents or grandparents or previous generations had. So even though there's a lot of speakers, it's still in danger because the children aren't learning it as much.
I think learning a language is important because there's not a lot of elders left to teach it. Not a lot of people know it anymore, and I want to help make songs someday.
To make songs?
Mm-hmm.
You like singing? Nice. Yeah, singing is a good way to learn as well because there's a rhythm to it and a pattern. You can memorize it. It's a good way to learn language, to get that repetition, It's very cool. Started teaching the course, this class. What's that been like for you?
It's been great. It's been, I'm not a speaker of native language myself, but it's been a great opportunity to explore issues of the deep connection between identity and language, the importance of preserving culture by preserving language, the benefit and value of learning a second language in and of itself, regardless of what language it is. It's been really cool to have to see the different reasons that students are wanting to learn a native language. Anything from a student who I have in this class who said, I have some neighbors, elder neighbors that I think it'd be cool to be able to carry on a conversation with. From something like that to, I want to be Miss Weo and do my speech in my language, or I want to teach others. I want to help preserve the language. It's run the gamut, all these different reasons, and it's been really rewarding just to be a part of that process for them.
I definitely appreciate that you're willing to take this step and put yourself out there, volunteer yourself to do this, because there aren't teachers available a lot of times for these languages. What are some of the things you've been finding challenging in this process since you started?
I find that one thing that's been challenging is we've wanted to find fluent speakers to come in and break maybe students up into pods of different languages and have some direct instruction almost in these languages. And it's been hard just to coordinate that. That's been a challenge, and I think that would be a great value in that process of learning. And it's also been challenging technologically. Occasionally it can be a little bit glitchy on our end using the Chromebooks. It's not the best platform, I think. I don't think it's been a software issue. It's been our hardware has been challenging.
Limited.
A little bit limited. Those are a couple things that come to mind.
What sort of things would you like to see in the future if this class were to continue?
I would like to see, well, like I said, more, if we could get others involved, and I'd like to have some materials that are a little more universal that we can offer to students, maybe in the form of, some different modules, and I know that you've mentioned that could be in the works. So those are a couple things that I think I would like to see added to the program.
Awesome. Thank you very much for all the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any advice for other learners who might be interested in learning one of these languages?
Some advice that I'd have to other people trying to learn these languages is that you really gotta keep up with it, because it's difficult, most languages are learning, and it's just as you said, repetition is kind of one of the only ways to memorize it, and you just gotta keep on trying again and again, and it's gonna be tough, but yeah.
Great.
I would say just don't get discouraged. Native languages can be very difficult to learn, but it's so incredibly worth it to learn it and learn your culture through the language. it's definitely worth just keeping trying at it.
I think the best advice I could give to one of the learners or new learners is take advantage of your resources. Like if you have an elder you can learn from, then listen to them, and if you have books that you can learn from, then read them. And also pay attention to the rules of the language, because they can get kind of confusing, but they're really important.
Yeah, definitely.
My advice for other learners are don't stop studying. It's okay if your progress is slow. Learning a language can be difficult.
It's good advice. It can take time. And you might feel like you're moving very slowly, but you are moving. So it's good to keep that motivation going.
Some advice is don't get frustrated if you're pronouncing it wrong, because it takes a while, to get the language right.
Yeah, that's very important, because think of little children. A child might say, "I goed to the store," instead of, "Oh, you meant I went to the store." But we let kids make mistakes, and so it's important that any learner, whatever age, has a permission to make mistakes, and that's part of the learning process, right? You make a mistake, and then next time you'll learn from those mistakes. I just want to thank all of you for the work you're doing. It's very important, and that when I was your age, there were a lot more speakers in my language. Many of them have passed on. I don't hear the language as often as when I was young, but I'm very inspired by seeing young people like yourselves, picking up, learning, and doing your best to take advantage of the resources and what materials are there to begin to learn these languages. So, masicho.
For more Storyteller profiles, visit doyonfoundation.com/storyteller.